Hey everyone, it's Petra Williams, the founder of The Red Hot Truth, where we help you succeed by being more of who you are, by highlighting your difference so you can live your red hot truth and blossom. And this week, I am so excited to bring you Lyndsey Douglas. I met Lyndsey doing a TV course last year, and she is just a rock star in public relations. And I know when I was running my own life coaching consultancy, I got so many mixed messages about building a personal brand, what to do on Facebook and Instagram, how to promote myself, how to get publicity for my business and for what I was doing. It was also confusing. I spent so much time on it. I didn't get much reward on the public relations stuff, on the publicity stuff. I actually almost signed up for a course that was $4,000 for a woman to help me write media releases. Unfortunately, I canceled that because there is a real strategy behind getting publicity, and not only getting publicity, but by leveraging that. And, I have a friend, she has been on podcasts internationally. She's been in newspapers. She continuously gets publicity, but is not converting that into hard dollars, into clientele. So Lyndsey has worked with big brands, changing their public profile, from X to B, totally changing that business, how the public perceives it. She is really good at what she does. So today we have got her wisdom and her expertise in a nutshell. If you do want to find out more, definitely get hold of Lyndsey. It is worth the investment. We spend so much time on developing websites and social media posts, etc. But if we don't know what our tonality is, we don't know what our true voice is, we don't know what our truth is, and we don't know what our messaging is, we land up just being bland, disappearing into the sea of nothingness. Coaching is very hot at the moment, but most coaches are saying the same thing. So for us women coaches and female coaches to succeed, we need to have our own voice. We need to be consistent with that. And we need a professional like Lyndsey to help us do that. So please listen to what she's got to say. Contact her, invest in that money. This is something you want to do at the start of your business, not at the end, to really stand out and help the people that you want to help. So please join me in this fabulous interview and have fun, live your red hot truth, and remember to share. Lyndsey, welcome to the Red Hot Truth podcast. It's so nice to be sitting here with you. As you know, this podcast is designed for female coaches to help them become more visible. And today we're talking about PR and marketing and communications, which is massive, right? It's such a massive space, and you really are an expert in it. So first of all, welcome.
Thank you. I'm such a big fan of your original video series. You had some great talent on in the last year or so. So it's an honor to sit here and have a bit of a chat with you.
So I was just laughing because I was preparing for this interview and I was reflecting on how we met at the TV presenting course. And I was laughing because you have such a silky voice. And I was giggling because I was thinking to myself, how is this going to translate in audio? It's going to be hilarious because I have quite a nasal, high-pitched voice, and you have such a silky voice. So lower the diaphragm.
I once saw a voice coach who said, "Is that your normal voice?" I'm like, "Yes, this is my normal voice."
I know. What a compliment. So what I want to really start off with is just talking about what is PR, because it's such a big space. So if we can define that, that would be awesome.
It's had an evolution in terms of its definition. So I was originally a journalist and jumped to the dark side pretty early on because the money's better in public relations. And traditionally, so if you were describing it 10, 15 years ago, you describe public relations as the art of getting an organization or a company or a message or an individual into traditional media streams. So getting them on TV, in radio, into newspapers, and getting the message across that you wanted to get across. And when done effectively, it is 3 times more impactful than an advertisement.
Oh, so it's different to ads.
Totally different to ads. So the traditional mainstream definition was media relations and dealing with the press and influencing the public via those channels, which used to be hugely influential. But these days, public relations pertains to how you affect the reputation, the perception of an individual, an organisation, a company through a whole range of channels that affect the public. So that is community engagement, social media, certainly, your digital presence. I would even argue it is down to the communications you send to your database, and it's also press as well these days.
So it's creating a perception of yourself and your business in the public domain.
Yes. And today it is absolutely done at its best with killer storytelling.
Yeah.
But it cannot be done without a really clear understanding of what your brand is. And
I love that. So let's touch on that, because I find, particularly in the coaching space, women find it really hard to articulate their brand. So how do we go about doing that?
Coaching, I have to say, is an abomination when it comes to content, because it is such a cluttered market. Everyone is using particularly Facebook as their medium, bit of Instagram, but Facebook predominantly. And everyone's saying similar platitudes. So my understanding of one coach versus another in my decision making is not made easy on social media, and therefore content often falls flat. And there are a whole bunch of things we can do to fix that.
Well, see, and I just want to talk about that as well. Like, I even know for myself, right, it's really finding about what your thing is, because honestly, and I don't mean this in a bad way, but I saw a friend who's sort of in the coaching space, and she was doing a video on gratitude, and I'm like, oh my God, like, I turned it off. I've heard it before, and so I think it's really important to find your angle. So please tell us, how do we do it?
I work with a lot of coaches on this, and one of the first things we do is a little branding exercise, but I'll get back to that in a moment. We just quickly define what their brand is so that we know what they're not, and how they are different to everyone else in the space. I get them to tell me, describe 2 clients right now, 2 different clients who need you today. What are they wearing? What do they look like? Where do they live? Why? What is their crisis point today? Why have they come to you? And that helps me understand super quickly, oh, I get it. Your person is this person. And that helps me narrow the tone in the communication and target that audience.
So is that the avatar? I think that is that the right term? Like, can you identify that person when you walk in the room? You go, that's who I'm talking to.
Totally.
Yeah.
And often it'll be them 3 years ago.
Yes.
So it'll be me 3 years ago when I was doing this, this, and this, and I'm about to have the big moment, the big, where I'm open to investing in myself and getting a coach. So then once we know those avatars, those 2 individuals who would need you today, we start talking about the 10 or 12 different pain points that would be a catalyst for them to start looking for you. Once we have pain points, we start getting anecdotes around them. Now, the anecdotes are either the coach's individual experience. I've been through that difficult experience of leaving the corporate world, or I've been through that difficult experience of knowing I wasn't in love with my partner anymore. Whatever that crucial moment was, we capture all of those. Or it might be the experience of their clients or their peer groups, which is fine too. It's actually really important that we use the experience of others without naming them to give credence to your legitimacy as an operator.
Yeah.
So you say, one of my clients has been through this horrible moment in recent years where she's had a baby and she's blah, 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 all that kind of stuff. And this is where she was at, where she hit rock bottom, and this is how I came along to help. So it's about anecdotes, storytelling, delivering the pain points, but the nucleus of your brand never changes and the nucleus of your avatar doesn't change. And where we can keep those central and stable, we can get super creative in how we get it out.
So, and I want to cover that a little bit more, but one thing I do want to say there is, it's the pain point that people will pay you money to solve.
Totally.
So, I mean, I and everything I say now I've experienced in my own business failures and successes is that, there's things that annoy me. And I'm like, yeah, that's really annoying, right? Like bad decaf coffee. I drink decaf coffee, right? And it's often shit, but like I still pay for it. But it's not a massive thing in my life, right? So it's finding that pain point, and often, as we've discussed before, it's not the core problem. It's not like, I'm hating my marriage. It's often something like, I feel stressed. It's the symptom of the problem, and we need to speak to the symptom, because going in hard and saying you don't love yourself, people will go,
Yes,
no
yeah,
way,
no.
right?
And actually, that's one thing I would say is I've just come back with a lurgy from Europe. So I might
You've what?
I've come back with a lurgy from Europe.
Lurgy.
One of the things I would comment on that is that often I find coaches who are so psychologically advanced by the time they're offering the service, or they're so in touch with their spirituality, they often talk at that level when their client wouldn't need them if they were also at that level.
Yes.
So it's remembering to speak to you before you got a coach.
It's so interesting that you say that, right? And it truly is, because obviously I've got friends who are coaches, and they were running workshops, and I was looking at their marketing, and exactly like you were saying, they were talking at such a high level, and I said to them, you need to come back down. And they go, to be honest with you, I don't know what people I don't know myself 3 years anymore, because we're so busy hanging out with each other. We don't know what those other plebs are going through, right?
Yes.
And it's so important
Love it.
to stay back grounded, exactly, because it can. Like, I personally hang out with people who are like me. But they're not necessarily the people I help.
No, that's right.
Right.
And those enriching conversations you are having are so good for you socially, and they are so important for your 10th meeting with a client, but they are not appropriate for your lead generating content and your storytelling content on social.
So how do we solve that? Like, do we hire someone like you, or how do we do that?
You just get really strict around the foundation of your content, and the foundation is the brand. And I'm going to make you do an exercise in a second that I haven't told you about. Your brand, your avatars, the whole point of what your business achieves, and narrow it. We start really, really narrow, and then we go hyper creative with the content. We do lots of A/B testing. We make sure we get your voice right, and we make content easy for you to create in a myriad of ways. And there are coaches out there that absolutely nail it.
Yeah.
And there are coaches out there that are falling a little flat because they just don't have direction and they're writing from their heart, which is very sweet, but it's not your diary. And
what?
So
you mean people don't want to know my innermost thoughts? Oh.
Well, I mean, your coach might.
Yeah.
But so I think if you have a plan and you enjoy doing the writing and the speaking and the videoing, which most coaches do, then that's the best way to do it. And I help a lot of coaches just get that one pager down, nail it, get it really, really narrow, run that for 6 months, and then we revisit. And that's an easy thing to do. Or you can outsource it, but that's fraught too if a ghostwriter doesn't get your voice and doesn't thoroughly understand your business in a way where you think, oh my God, we're soul sisters. That will be a huge waste of money. But it can be a good way to outsource something if you're not comfortable with it. I'm going to make you do this brand exercise.
Yeah, because I was like, make me do the brand exercise, because it's really, before you can outsource anything, you have to know your own brand.
Totally.
Because it's not, it's fruitless and it's not fair. Like, if I come to you and I go, Lyndsey, help me develop this PR exercise, you're like, well, what's your brand? And you're like, I don't know.
Yeah.
So yeah, tell me. Okay, let's go. Let me see.
Oh, this is the thing. You are not allowed to use any platitudes in response to any of the questions I ask you.
What's a platitude?
Platitudes or homogeneous words. You can't use phrases every bastard uses. If you use them, I'm allowed to kick you in the shin right now.
Okay.
So you've got to say things that are really raw Petra.
Okay.
Really, seriously, rawly Petra, and they have to be out there. They have to be the big out there things. So,
oh my God,
you're at a barbecue right now.
Yes, and hopefully it's a vegetarian one.
It's a vegetarian barbecue, the worst kind. I'm not going to that barbecue. You are I love that we're friends. We eat together and somehow just don't eat the same food. So you're at a barbecue and a client of yours, one of your coaching clients, is standing next to a woman who you don't know and telling her she's got a life problem, and you overhear one of your clients using an adjective to describe you, to say you have to go and see Petra. She is so
passionate.
Platitude.
Oh, platitude?
Yeah, dump it.
Direct.
I love it. There we go.
Okay.
So we've got attribute number 1.
Okay. I feel like I should be writing this down.
Yeah, we probably should be. But that's okay.
But I'll
You'll have it in audio.
Listen to the podcast.
Yes. Now you've heard her use another attribute to describe you. What could it be?
I just want to action orientated, but that's
no. Let's call it fiery. She's
fiery?
direct and fiery.
Yeah, okay.
Because that's your action. No, we're getting this done.
Yeah, let's get the shit done.
Love it. Now I want you to say how someone would describe your tone, like the sense of getting to meet you.
So fun is definitely something that's important to me. Also, the tone, fun. It's got a combination of this is interesting, right? I'm fun, but I'm also serious. Like I take the work seriously, but I don't take myself seriously. So it's.
I think we're going to make a new word: furious. Like fun, serious.
But it's interesting because what's my tone? Like I love writing. It's very comical. I use great into windows. It's a bit risque, but I do talk about serious stuff. So I don't know. No,
that's okay because we'll come back to that one. That one's not as important as the others. Finally, people that don't know you from the coaching world, what is the thing you are most famous for? Like, what are you most involved with? What's the community or identity? What's the thing that, if someone was describing you, what is the thing that makes you a bit different?
Everything makes me different, obviously. I suppose it's feminism or truth. It's definitely truth. Even people in the dog park, I have those conversations that I feel need to be had. So how do I describe that? So when I don't do frivolous conversations. I don't talk about the weather. I always talk about things that are important. So truth is the one thing that comes up to me. Is like Petra is truthful. She speaks about So what was the question again? I went for the tangent, right? So tell me, ask me again. So what, outside of the space I'm in?
Yes, how do people know you? And actually, I'm going to tell you it's probably simpler than you think. It'll be, she's like this little fiery little South African fabulous,
like bubbly, energetic, networker, that sort of.
So it will often be a physical attribute or something really weird. So mine for a lot of people is that I don't look like I play women's rugby, and I've played 19 years of women's rugby. That's, it might not be the thing I want to be stamped with, but it's how I'm remembered. Who's that? Isn't that Lyndsey, the PR? Yeah, doesn't she play rugby? And people just dive to it straight away. Whereas people will say Petra, oh my God, that little pocket rocket.
Oh yeah, definitely. So when people are they're energetic, what always comes up, you're full of energy, you're really energetic. I feel so alive with you. So the ball of energy would definitely be something I'd say. Okay. Look at me, I'm wearing yellow today.
I know, nailing it.
They both know, would you?
So what I would get you to do in a normal session, which we do over about an hour, is I need you to find anecdotes to support those attributes. So we started off early. We're saying that you were direct.
Yes.
Give me evidence that you're direct. Tell me a moment when you've been direct where other people wouldn't be.
This sounds crazy, right? But we're in the bus is full, okay, and people don't fucking move up, right? It's there's all this fucking space, and people try, and they're like, I'm standing here holding my fucking pole because I can't stand up by itself, right? I'm like, hey, could you just move down, thanks?
Yeah.
That's the kind of thing I would do. Okay. Yeah, bloody hell, people are stupid,
I love this.
Right?
Now, the second attribute we talked about was your fiery. Give me an example.
Where would I be fiery? It's hard for me because I feel like I'm fiery all the time.
Yeah.
I fiery when I talk about women taking themselves seriously. I'm fiery about when.
Yes.
That's right. So when a woman comes and she'll say something very generic to me, I'll be like, I'm just trying to think of an example, right? If a woman puts herself down, if a woman apologizes to me, for no reason, I'm like, stop apologizing.
You
like,
do it to
what
me
the-
all the time. You say, stop saying you're not good at that. Stop
Yeah,
it.
and you're like, I'm like, stop it. Like, I really am passionate about that. Stop labeling yourself. So I will be quite fiery and passionate about that.
I love that. Okay, so basically, we've just done a 2-minute version of what I'd normally do, which is we come up with your 4 attributes, which are 2 professional characteristics, a social tone-based characteristic, and a way you are remembered, a way you are memorable to people, because that visual memorability and that real world experience of you is so much part of a brand. It is so much part of a brand, and people forget it. So they end up saying things like passionate and, educated and blah, blah, and honest. And I'll tell you what, if another real estate agent tells me they're trustworthy and honest, I'm going to bath. And I do this exercise with people in big careers where there's lots of them. So there's 64,000 real estate agents in Australia. I've got to help them get a brand real quick.
Yeah.
So what we would do is build your brand on that, and the quadrants that we've just discussed are really the nucleus of your brand.
Okay.
And so we want to make sure that every text you write, every email you write, every hand you shake, every video you do, everything is absolutely littered with Petra's real brand voice.
Yeah, okay.
And that everything, and we also need to be really clear on what you're not. So we'd go through on each of those attributes and go, which means you are not, you are not, you are not.
Okay.
Same thing we do with the avatars too. So you don't help these people. Who do you not help?
Victims.
Yeah.
I'm so good not help victims.
Yeah. No, there is a coach out there who is good with victims.
Yeah, totally. Right.
It's not you.
No, it's not me. Yeah. So, and I help people who are action takers and who don't I help? So I don't help. Yeah, victims. That's the perfect phrase for it.
Yeah, so basically, with the combination of a branding exercise, a content narrowing exercise, that's enough for someone to really nail their social content if they stick to that as a roadmap.
Okay.
And deliver content that is outrageous and loud, but fits the tone and delivers an actual message. Because one of the pitfalls of a lot of content on social is it's peripheral and doesn't directly lean back into the purpose of the business. So it's confusing, it's cluttered, and it doesn't have cut through.
Yeah, that's so interesting that you say that, because even as I was preparing the questions for you for this interview, like next to it, I always go, what's the intention here? So when I, for example, I say, well, explain PR to me. What do I want to achieve here? Clarity. So it's always like absolutely as you say. And when I do Facebook Live videos, and I'm doing them a bit off the cuff at the moment, but when I start focusing a little bit more on it, it's that title of the video is really, it's not only for the people I'm doing it for, it's for myself to keep me on track, because I like talking, I have a lot of knowledge, but as you say, to stop me going generic, I have to keep it's like a destination in mind.
Yes.
Where am I going with this?
Let's get there directly.
Let's get there, because otherwise it's nothing. Right? It's nothing, right? That's interesting. So, write this down when you listen to it.
Or give me a bell and I'll send it to you.
Yeah.
So it's easy.
Maybe Lyndsey's kind enough, she can give you a little outline on that.
Yes.
So thank you for doing that, and I think that's so essential, because I mean, as I said, this year I'm running a Blossom campaign. So it's coming out of hiding, go all in on your dreams, live your red hot truth and blossom. But as you said, like your brand is like your red hot truth. And so often we don't know how to articulate it. And it's, we did this really quickly, but it's really difficult to think about how I behave. Because it's just what I do all the time. Like, where are you fiery? I'm like, I'm fiery all the time. Like, no, but give me specific examples. And it really takes me to become aware, to start paying attention to when am I most fiery? When does that come out? And when am I most direct? Like, and really starting to reflect on your own behavior, become conscious of it. And for me, I think that's the greatest challenge, is when we've discussed this, when you do something well, or you do it so often, it's hard to recognize that, right? And that's why it's really helpful having an external person fleshing it out for you. So thank you for that exercise. That was really great. To do public relations, to openly talk about your brand and articulate it, you do have to put yourself out there. You do have to highlight your best bits and not your wobbly bits. And yet women are, I don't feel that women are necessarily brought up
Oh, we're so self-deprecating.
yeah to do that.
Oh.
So can we talk a little bit about that? Like, what has your experience been around that?
I'm so terribly confident at the things I'm good at, which is a great way to be.
You see how you said terribly confident there.
I have good
Isn't that
my natural
interesting?
vernacular is
Yeah,
a little bit.
yeah,
That's my
right.
brand, girlfriend.
Right.
But I go to extreme lengths to let someone know very early on what I'm not good at or why they should doubt my ability. And I think it's a ubiquitously female quality. I watch people do it all the time and I can't stop doing it because I feel I have to couch my confidence in a layer of, but here's all the things you wouldn't get me to do. Do not get me to do your accounts.
So give us an example, because you gave me an example yesterday of what happened. So can you share that with us when you got that speaking thing?
Oh, that's right.
Yes.
So I have, this is a super random hobby that I have that now has turned out to be quite lucrative, where I am a commentator at equine events or agricultural shows. So the Sydney Royal Easter Show is a good example of one, or a tiny little country town show like the Condobolin Show. Events, and there's 600 of them across Australia. I do not do all 600.
Yeah, would be very busy.
I would be very, very busy. But they're big days, and it's something I started off as a hobby, and I really enjoyed doing it. But one of my dream events reached out to me this week that I never thought would tap me on the shoulder, and I just think, how does this even happen, and what a joy. And they said, we'd love to have you at our event, and I'm trying to couch my, enthusiasm. Let me look at my calendar.
I know, isn't that funny how they once again, that's sort of a play, like, see me go, but not too eager. I'm like, why not just go all in and go, oh my God, I'd love to. But
totally.
is that playing the game?
Yes. Why is it taking you so long?
Okay. So what took you so long to notice my brilliance, obviously?
I immediately said, yes, I'd love to. And because I'd had a chat with you about my day rates and you had kicked me in the backside, I said my day rate confidently, but I was, my organs are shutting down inside.
Right.
And then I said, oh, look, and I started listing other people they should have considered.
Oh, did
you?
Oh my God,
I said,
Lyndsey.
have you thought about so-and-so, and he's great, and he's also great, and then I said, look, even though I didn't, so the content I need to know is very specific, and I didn't grow up in that world, that particular equine world, so I need to do a lot of research. They don't need to know that.
No,
they already know I'm not. So I said to them, look, I'm not part of your world, so I have to, blah, blah. And I'm like, I'm giving them, and it was so
You're giving
obscene.
them excuses to not hire you.
But
really.
it's also embarrassing,
I know.
I'm sure I was saying it professionally, but you just think, get over yourself.
Yes.
They've come to you, make it simple. I would love to be there. I'm gonna give you my best version of what I do, and see you there.
And also, they wouldn't have come to you if they didn't confidently believe that you are good for it. So actually they're coming to you to see you available because they've already decided they want you.
Yeah.
You don't have to convince them otherwise. You just go, yes, great, and this is my rate, and that's it.
Yes,
it's a done deal.
Totally.
Right?
Why we feel we need to remind people of our inadequacies. In saying that, I also think it's really important to know what you're not good at and just own it. You don't need to advertise it, but you need to be really clear in any, that's just not what I do.
Yeah, and so I suppose in that context, that the reason you want to know what you're not good at is not to tell people, hey, I'm not good at it. It's to know that when an opportunity comes your way and that's not your gig, then you can go, hey, that's not something I do.
Yes, and go and call this person.
Yeah, go and then refer them on to someone else, right? Why do you think you did that? Why do you think you referred them to other people?
I think it's imposter syndrome. I think you don't want to appear that you believe you're the only solution, or that I think it's imposter syndrome.
For you felt it was imposter syndrome for you?
Yes, which is ridiculous. This is a thing I love doing. I've done it for 12 years. It's so crazy. Mm-hmm. I do it all the time.
Isn't that interesting? So it's interesting. So we spoke firstly about having awareness, right? So you're aware that you're doing it, and yet you find yourself still doing it. So this is really interesting to me. So then what do you think is going to stop you from doing that?
You've absolutely stumped me.
Well, it's interesting, right? So it's easy to say that people know your brand, own your staff, own what you're good at, own what you're not good at. And yet we have these default behaviors that we keep falling into, right? And so I'm just sort of going with branding stuff where you do have to put yourself out there, where you do have to be articulate, etc. But then there is sabotaging behavior that comes
Totally.
in there. So then it's important to start paying attention to that, because I think that's what we have to pay attention to. So, branding is fine and everything, but it's that sabotaging behavior, or maybe that, or maybe it's just that behavior that's not working for you. That's what I want women to start paying attention to, because that's what's stopping you.
And it's so funny because I'm completely undone my own philosophy, which is your brand is people's experience of you. And that person's experience of me on the phone was not aligned with what my brand is.
Exactly. Right? So that's, isn't that great that we've articulated that here, because it's so easy to say things, but then stuff comes up for us all the
Totally.
time, right? Isn't it amazing? Thank you for sharing that, and I think it's really important to also, we discussed this yesterday, but I really want women to stop hiding behind labels like imposter syndrome, lack of confidence. I don't even know, once again, I've been so out of that space now that I don't know what women say to themselves anymore. But it really is something we're hiding behind now, right? I'm not doing it because I have imposter syndrome. One, it's not a real thing. It's not real. It's a label. It's a marketing thing. Who the fuck knows what it is, all right? But it's not real. So how do you think, Lyndsey, we can, as women, start moving beyond these labels?
My general philosophy is, it helps if you're a pragmatist like you and I are, but not everyone is a pragmatist.
And we're not talking to those people.
And we're not talking to those people. They are irrelevant. And they got to go sort their own stuff out. But I think my general philosophy is say yes to everything, even when you are up all night, so nervous that you've exposed yourself to do this thing that you may not be capable of doing, or you've taken the huge new job promotion, or you've gone out on your own and signed up 4 clients and you're not, it's just say yes. Just say yes. You always deliver.
Yes.
I don't know how. You just always deliver. And then you find yourself going, well, that's so doable.
Yes.
And it becomes not a thing that you are reaching for, but a thing that is in your past that you are capable of.
Yeah. Amazing. And I think also really catch yourself. I think if you start going imposter syndrome, using that language, start cutting that shit out.
Yeah.
Like, really. And I was just saying before how I don't know if that's still going around. I mean, I haven't been in the corporate world for a long time, but there was this discussion that when a woman can do 70% of a job, she may apply for it. But if a man can do 30%, he'll apply for it. And I'm like, well, where does that research come from? Have you ever seen that research paper? 2, what's the number of the people they pulled, right? If it's 1,000, why do you fit into that 1,000? Do you fit into that 1,000? And really, why are you making something true that's not true to you? So the interesting thing about marketing, and I'm sure you know this, that 70% is the perfect percentage because we believe it. So anything 60 is like, that's not me. 80, too unbelievable. 70, definite. That's why 1 in 3 people get cancer. 1 in 3 people have dementia. 1 in 3 have every fucking syndrome you get on this world, right? Why does every charity use 1 in 3?
Yeah.
Because people believe it, right? So it's also become conscious of what you're listening to and what you're measuring yourself at.
Agree. Look, I do a lot of work with young groups of women, and by young I mean younger than me, so in their sort of 20s, often EAs or administrators, and do some really, I think that there's so much to be gained from your early corporate career. A lot of us in our 30s, particularly this audience, we end up running our own businesses, and that's so exciting, but you can't do that without the building blocks of your previous career, your career as a teacher, my career in the PR corporate world. But there's also so much toxicity that occurs from those corporate cultures, just other people that you don't choose to be around, that you have to be around. There's toxicity in terms of how you perceive yourself in the workplace and what you put yourself forward for and where you might fail and where there's not a good culture of failing, and failing is so important in your career. And also just bad decision making. And one of the things I get young women to do particularly is I get them to do this weird exercise where I get them to write down all of the attributes, the non-negotiable attributes of their dream future partner, girl or boy, whatever, your dream new boyfriend or your dream new girlfriend. What are the attributes they have to have? They have to be into sport, and they have to be funny, and they have to be tall, and they have to blah, 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 blah. And then I write, so tell me now, what are the things they absolutely cannot be?
Yeah.
They cannot have bad table manners. They cannot, that's my one.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so rough on that. They
I
can't
better eat
be
with my mouth closed
Yeah.
next time I have lunch with him. Nom, nom, nom.
next time you have your vegan salad. Yeah. I'm eating a steak. And so I get them to write those things down, and it's so easy for them to do because they are like, I would never date anyone who did this, and I would totally date someone, blah, 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 and they're so clear on it. And then I say, write that about your next boss.
Yeah.
And this is the thing, we are so eager to please as women in a job interview.
Yeah.
And we're giddy with politeness and hire me, and and we're so on. And when the recipient of all their questions, we forget to turn around and say, I'm actually going to spend more time with this boss now or these people than I will with my boyfriend or my girlfriend. And I have had no standards around how I select my workplace.
Yeah.
And I just have watched so many friends lose their self-esteem, get destabilized, never leave a job because they get bullied, not realizing. I just think
it was an abusive relationship, right?
It's like choosing. We
it
wouldn't
is.
let our friends choose an abusive partner.
Totally.
So why do we let them choose a potentially abusive workplace and not yank them out of there?
And same goes for clients as well, right? So when I first started out, I was so grateful to get a client. I was like, oh my God, I've got a client. And then, but later I started noticing that some clients just sucked the living daylights out of me and were difficult, and I wasn't enjoying it. And then some clients I really looked forward to. And then I almost say, do this in the beginning, like decide who you will work with. And it's exactly the same when you're in business. Decide what supplier you'll work with, what collaboration the people you want to collaborate with. It's understanding that there's enough for everyone, like more than enough. I know our economy is built on the concept of scarcity, but there is no scarcity. You don't have to pick up crumbs.
Yes,
right?
Totally.
There are fucking massive loaves of bread out there.
Yes.
Right? Go and gorge yourself in there. And so understanding that and knowing that will help your decision making so much more. Because otherwise, if you're always looking for crumbs, you'll just go stay there fighting for crumbs, because everyone's fighting for crumbs, right? Because they don't understand that there's loaves up there.
Yes.
Right? So do what the other people are not doing and go big, right? I love that. I just want to talk about, you're very passionate about this, and I saw that in the notes, is you hate... Well, hate is a strong word.
No, it's a word I'd use.
Yeah, but you hate women not taking control of their own future. And so talk to me about that.
I abhor the idea of being a passenger in this life. And one of the things I love about your Red Hot Truth program is that it speaks to an audience, usually of women in their late 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, that have just shed the skin of life is not going to be like that anymore. Yeah. And I hate that we have to get to that point, but we're just so polite. We're polite, and we're passengers in life, and we're ticking so many boxes and living life the way it has been prescribed to us. And I think the earlier we shirk that theory and that prescription, the better our lives are.
Yeah.
It's funny because I took so much pride in having a corporate career in my 20s, but I was just not going to do it for another minute. And now running my own business is so obscenely easy and fun. And I choose all of the people around me. I choose all my kick-ass female business coaches, my female accountant who cannot believe how bad I am with numbers. I've got two of them actually. I've got one in the Gold Coast, one in Sydney, and then I've got a female business coach aside from that. And I've got all these great female mentors like you that I come to and bounce ideas off. And I'm so in control of every day, and I just want that for every woman.
Yeah.
But I feel like we still live a cookie cutter
Yes.
in a lot of ways, and we're not happy in the cookie cutter. Would be different if we were.
Yeah.
And but I'm also cognizant that not everyone is as pragmatic as you and I, and not everyone is as ready for change. So sometimes people want to talk to be heard, not talk to hear your solution.
I love it. You're like a dictionary. I like it. I'm like, oh, I like that word. I should incorporate it into my lingo. Tell me then, I'm interested, how did you grow up? Like, what was your upbringing like? Because you are a go-getter, you're in sport, I would say you play a lot in the masculine world.
Totally.
So tell me a bit more about your upbringing, and is that the reason you feel the way you feel?
Grew up in the country. My parents ran thoroughbred racing stunts. So kind of around a fair bit of agriculture, but largely horses, and a lot of them. In the country, so I'm a super country girl at heart. I don't know why.
You don't look it. If you had to see her, she looks like a real city slicker.
Yeah, thanks, girlfriend. I've got a whole different country outfit in the wardrobe.
I'll just wait till you open my wardrobe.
Yeah. My mum's just a super competent, capable woman, and my dad is, they're just competent, capable people, and my sister is too, and I don't know why we are the way we are. I'm certainly not very competent on the farm. I'm not very used to it, but I love being around it and contributing, or looking like I'm contributing if I can. But I don't know, and I've always tended towards the masculine. Everything in my life I've done is I play women's rugby. I do a very male job, show ring announcing and commentating. It's only really men that do it. There's a couple of women in there, but they're anomalies and they're great.
Like yourself, obviously.
Yes, right. I'm going to try and own that while I'm changing on the inside. And all the industries I've worked in have been incredibly male. I've worked in agriculture, real estate for nearly a decade, financial services, very male industries, and always male CEOs and always female PAs, and it does my head in.
Yeah.
I hate that.
I've never met a male PA.
That just does my head in.
That's interesting, right?
Like, it's one thing to have no... do you know what I've got to say? I'm working for a client at the moment, and I discovered this statistic I thought was really interesting, which you will find really boring, which is we talk all the time about ASX listed companies or listed companies, and their quota, their number of women at the top, and they finally got a woman on the board and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Do you know that listed companies make up 2% of the universe of companies?
Wow. So
there are 98% of companies in Australia, America, and Europe that are private or non-listed, unlisted companies, right? You walk through there and try and see some goddamn women at the top.
Yeah.
They are not there. And I'll tell you who is at the bottom. Streams of female PAs.
Yes.
And we haven't progressed.
And it's interesting because I used to be a PA once upon a time, and PAs run businesses. They run organizations.
Totally.
If you want something done, you got the PA. She knows exactly who it is. But yeah, that's interesting to me because I've started this podcast to give rise to feminine leadership. And the reason I think women aren't stepping up is because they're trying to, exactly as you say, to be seen by fitting in.
Yes.
They're still following the system. But feminine leadership is brand new, and it requires a new system. It requires you to do things differently. Own yourself, own your space, own who you are, and be okay with that. Don't be afraid. And I think, understand that we've been programmed to be liked. We've been programmed to, not speak up just in case we don't belong. And someone tells us, you're not such a lady. It's not very ladylike of you to do that. Fuck off. So what?
Yes.
Right? So I'm not a lady according to your idea. I'm not driving side saddle on a horse. Yeah, great. Thanks for that. But also understand it's a new dynamic, and really we need to be the leaders in this. And the way we do that is, first of all, by knowing ourselves and owning that, but also by supporting each other.
Totally.
I think it's really, as you said, you talk to me and you have other female women around you or women around you. And it's really just about being there for each other and supporting each other and saying, hey, don't do that. Don't put yourself down. Like you've got this. You've got this. You're amazing at it. Like you've done it for years. You've got it, right? But not only just as an emotional support, but also by connections and contacts. Like, hey, you want to achieve this? Yes, go here. Because I think there's a danger. What I've noticing again is, I was part of this group online, and it was about live your best decade ever. And it says, how will you support people in this group? And all the women, this makes me want to vomit, right? I will be there and I will encourage you and I will support you. And it's like not a fucking beauty pageant, right? It's like, yes, I'm here for you emotionally, by all means. Like, I get it. But you need contacts. You need like direction. I will help you with that, right?
And I'm going to give you the tough love you might need.
You might need. And that's it, because, it's still a man's world. It's locked out. So it's getting in the back door and side door underneath, right?
Do you think it's a big part of the reason women go out on their own? Like, it's just everyone's an entrepreneur in their 30s and 40s. And I think go girl, and people do so well.
Yes.
But it's got a lot to do with the fact that the structure that exists is not conducive to their continued growth. You get to a point and you've stopped the old glass ceiling. And I do think what you're saying is so true.
Yeah. And also, like, so coming back to business, right, and owning it, like taking control of yourself. So, like, everything I say from experience, right, guys? And I'm not shitballing here, right? So my first coaching business failed. All right, because I didn't know anything about business, right? I like coaching, and it's all romantic and helping people, and I love helping people because it's like, fuck yeah, I get it, right? Yes, it feels good to help others, but understand business is business. So go and educate yourself about business, and that's what we spoke about earlier today. Find out what PR is, find out what branding is. Go and hire someone like Lyndsey to help you with that shit, because it's hard to do on your own, right?
Totally.
I know, like, in the social media world, it's like you can do everything on your own. You can, but if you want it done right, if you're serious about it, find out what it is, pay that person to do it, and get it done, right? Because if you're serious about helping people, then you will take this seriously, right? You will invest the money. And so what often happens is we step out of our corporate world too early because we hate it, right? And then we're like, oh, we'll start our own business, and then we don't have the financial backing to do it, right? So you, of course, you've done it a little bit differently, and which is great, right? So how have you done it with your business?
Well, fortunately, it was funny. I had a great friend of mine who was a male CEO of the last company I was in, who's just a young superstar. And I said to him, I'm starting the business in about a month, and I just want to get some of and he's an accountant whiz, and he's super funny and lovable. And so I said, what do I do and what do I need to set up, and he was saying all that stuff. And then I said, and what else do I need to do? And he said, Lyndsey, you've just spent 13 years helping thousands of franchise business owners, entrepreneurs, startups, like old business you have helped every phase of a business manage their PR, their social, their community engagement, every bit of collateral that they push out, their customer experience from front end to back end. The whole thing you already know how to do. And I was like, oh, I forgot. I do know how to do all of that. And it's funny, there is no more powerful thing in the world. What the mainstay of my business now, my content and communications business, I've had up and running for 3 months now. I set myself a goal.
Oh, really?
Only for 3 months. I'm super new. I set myself a goal that by the end of the second month, I would have 6 signed up clients. I had 21.
Wow, amazing.
I don't have a website. I don't have a business card. I haven't got any of that. The other day I thought I better go whip up a logo somewhere. So I haven't done any of that stuff because I don't need to. And I don't need to because the single most important part of marketing is working for me, and that is word of mouth. There's nothing more important in the PR realm than word of mouth. So
where did that word of mouth come from? From your people who've worked with you previously?
Yeah, they're just having coffee with someone, and someone will say, I love your LinkedIn thought leadership piece the other day. Who are you writing that? It's so long. How did you write it? It's so interesting, blah, blah. Oh no, I've got this great woman called Lyndsey Douglas who is my ghostwriter. And then the other day I had a great agent who's humble as pie, sold, and he's only about 31 or 32, He sold a property just over the road here for $100 million.
Oh,
But it's off market and
what?
he's humble, so he hasn't told anyone, right? He wouldn't tell anyone. He's a nice
That's
guy.
a lot of money.
And so someone said to him, mate, you just made the sale of your career today.
Totally.
If you don't get this in a newspaper, you're on crack. And so
You're high.
and this person said to him, you've got to speak to Lyndsey Douglas. She'll get you. So he called me. We got him in the Financial Review, the Australian, and he didn't have to then go and boast because he's not a boaster, but we got a story that included a line that said, this guy just sold a $100 million property. He said he was at a funeral yesterday and a great, great, great aunt who's 95 years old said, well done on your sale. And he would never have told her. And as she walked off, she turned around at the funeral and yelled, can I have some of that cash?
I love that.
So it's like, how do I, and I know his brand, right? I know his brand is humble. So the way we did the press release, the way we managed the storytelling, the way we wrote the blog, the social media we did afterwards to amplify it is not written, I just made $100 million sale. Absolutely not. The vernacular is totally different and it's written like him. So basically people are just telling other people. I've got a politician who's called me now because he sat next to a client of mine who said, and the client said to him, no one really knows who you are. A federal politician, no one really gets your brand. You need to speak to Lyndsey. And it just is rolling on and on and on.
And so what I hear you say is you're good at what you do.
Yes, right? Which I would never say, but I am.
Totally. So that's another thing I really want to flag for coaches, right? Get out there and start coaching, right? And get good at what you do. I think exactly like you say in the beginning, everyone's concerned about websites and logo, and I spend so much time on that. Forget that. Like go and get some results for people, and then that will generate something going on, right?
3 of the most important things you can do for your business is have what one of my clients calls bird dogs, which is people that you know are clients of yours and bloody love what you've done for them, and they're telling 20 people at any given opportunity. So that word of mouth is absolutely crucial, and it's the foundation of it's my only marketing strategy. I don't even need one. The other thing is you've got to have a process around the collection of testimonials. You have to have a process that when you finish your campaign with someone or they achieve a certain outcome in the coaching or the PR phase or whatever it is, that you hit them in that moment that they are ecstatic with you. Hit them right then and you say, I hate to be so bold to ask, but can I get you to put a testimonial on here on Google reviews or whatever it is? You've got to capture that stuff, or a video. Celebrate their successes. If they're posting about what they've just achieved or they've come through the divorce or they've achieved the publicity, when they're posting about it, you get in there and you're commenting on it too.
Yes.
That is absolutely crucial. But the one that no one does because it's too hard to do, so you can outsource it to me if you like, is you've got to capture the case studies. You've got to capture the case studies. They don't need to be long. They need to be really clearly structured. But the case study is, Mary came to me, sick of working in the corporate world, going through a divorce, over the relationship, moved countries, and I got her to this point in 3 months. She and I worked, and today she is X, Y, Z.
And where do you put that case study?
Those case studies go in the case studies don't even need to be public, but they are your biggest conversion tool when meeting with prospects.
Okay.
Because if you have social proof of your ability, there is nothing more powerful.
Yeah, amazing.
So we can talk all day about the attributes we have and the brand we have and what our business purports to do.
Yeah.
If there is proof of what that business does, it's the biggest conversion tactic. So they can be online, they can be in video form. Not a lot of people are going to want to do that, but you can certainly use them in the conversion phase, speaking with clients.
Yeah.
So even using them in your closed Facebook groups and saying, today I want to share with you my 3 latest case studies.
Yeah. Wow. So what's coming up for me right now is there's so much to it that, and I don't have the knowledge for it. And once again, like, coaching's a skill, PR is a skill. So, hire someone like Lyndsey to get all of this down, because if you are serious about growing your business, do that. And there's so many factors to go through. I mean, we couldn't possibly even cover it in one podcast, but it really is. I mean, what we discussed at the beginning of the podcast, I think, is a good starting point, would you say, for people to start getting their brand a bit clearer. Yeah. But if you want to really grow and get some substantial clients in there, come and see Lyndsey or wherever you are. come see Lyndsey. Who cares?
Just give me a
Let's
bell.
go. Who cares about all those other people? Come see him, and get some serious shit going. I think that's awesome. So on that note, where can people get hold of you then?
Yeah, well, given I don't have a website.
Can I just say to that as well?
Yeah.
That's quite unusual as well. I think with Lyndsey was really good at what she did. And then she said she had, and also you have such a strong community as well. From you were so involved. You've taken such control of your life, and you've created a life that you've wanted, and therefore you have very good connections. And so that's a testament again to who you are and what you've done. So it's not always as easy as Lyndsey has described, but that doesn't matter. That's why you have PR to help you grow your business too.
Totally.
So
to
it's
amplify your ability.
So anyway, tell us how to get hold of you. LinkedIn?
Yeah, you can hit me up on LinkedIn, but the best way is just to shoot me an email at editor@writerswho.com.
Yeah, I'll put it in the show notes.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, so just, God, you can hit me up. Email's the best way to do it. And one of the things I do now, because there's such a demand in the coaching space and the entrepreneur space, is I do a 90-minute session where we actually do the brand content. I beat you up a little bit around the peripheral content you're putting out. We get it super, super, super narrow, and you leave with the skeleton, your pain points, and the infrastructure to build easy, great content.
Yeah, great. And that's a great starting point to get going. So thanks for that.
Thank you.
But my favorite question is, what is your red hot truth and how are you living it?
My red hot truth is that what you find really, really easy is really hard for a lot of people.
So can you speak about yourself? Because you're saying you.
Yeah.
So how about I?
So what I find really easy,
Yes.
a lot of people find really hard or daunting, and that is commentating events or writing. And as a result, that is both lucrative for me and a great advantage for those people to know me.
So that's your truth?
That's my truth. Which is hard for me to say because it's a confident thing to say, right?
Right. And how are you living that?
I live it by delivering those things that I find easy and enjoyable to do for people who find them difficult and daunting.
So could your truth be, I'm fucking amazing at what I do, and I'm going to tell you that I am?
Yeah.
There were so many beautiful words around there, but I think that's really what it is.
Yeah,
right?
I'm really good at something most people are bad at, and that works for both of us.
Yes. So hire me. Hey, Lyndsey, thank you so much for this wonderful podcast. I really enjoyed it and such great value. And definitely we'll put the details in because I think it's really important that women from around the world contact you if they are serious about growing their business. So thank you.
Thank you for having me. I am so excited to see the new series of talent that you have coming up in the next few weeks.
Yes. All right then. See you later. That's a wrap, sisters. Remember to love us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. If you have not already, sign up to The Red Hot Truth of theredhottruth.com for tips for coaches specifically. Share this interview, share the love, share the support, and remember to live your red hot truth and to blossom.